Anush, hello. Good evening. Hello from Portugal. So
Hi,
fantastic to see
Lucy.
your beautiful face. The Times, I noticed, called you the face to watch in opera 2020, which I mean, what's happened to 2020 and all these things that have been cancelled this year? It's just been a complete disaster, hasn't it?
I know, absolutely. Well, now I start greeting you. Hello, Lucy from London.
I
Oh, I
spoke
mean,
to
I
you.
am so jealous. It's so
I
miserable
wish
and
you were here. I
foggy.
wish you were here.
One thing that is uniting all of us now is that all of us had really tough time with this bloody year. And, really tried us on every possible aspect of our being. So
Yeah.
thinking to my fellow colleagues, you said, the Times has named me as the one to watch in the opera, but the irony of it that the
Let's
opera doesn't exist in 2020.
Yes, well, let's hope you'll be the one to watch in 2021.
Hopefully all of my colleagues will be those ones to be watching in 2021. Hopefully we will still have places to be going on the stage and actually entertain people and have the privilege to be really doing our job, our life, our job that we've dedicated everything to. We sacrificed so much to do this really demanding job, and now all of us, I mean, not only the performers, but you name a profession that didn't have trouble.
What did you have lined up actually for 2020, dare I ask? What roles were you working on? What are you working on now?
Oh God. Well, it makes me so sad to think about that.
Yes.
Try
Well,
to just
won't
completely
go there if
block
you
it.
don't want to. No.
It's just, it's very
Let's
easy
talk
to
about the future. I mean, are you working on anything at the moment? For anyone?
again.
Dear.
Well, yes, I always work
Yeah.
on something, but the
Yes.
thing
Right.
is that at the moment nobody really has any guarantees that things would happen, and more we see the companies that are canceling certain things and or not actually risking to announce their seasons because they don't know what would happen. So I've got some very exciting things on my diaries, but none of
Yeah.
them are public knowledge. So, and I don't
Ah,
even know whether they will go ahead. I mean,
right.
funnily enough, the same happened in March. There were
Yes.
a couple of companies who were going to be announcing what was I going to do during this time and then in the coming season, but they
Yeah.
didn't manage to do that because the lockdown started and they weren't very sure what would happen. And by now, all of those contracts have been cancelled. So at the moment, I'm very lucky. I'm working on the role of Vitelia in Mozart's La Clemenza di Tito, and the work
Yeah.
is still going, but who knows what would happen.
Yeah.
Come spring, hopefully the vaccine would also already had some kind
Yeah.
of influence over our lives, and the
Yes, let's
companies
hope.
would probably open.
Yeah.
My heart really goes to the people who were in the very beginning of their careers, starting
Yeah,
to get their feet on it.
just launching.
Yeah,
Terribly difficult time.
yeah.
But I think it's difficult for absolutely everyone at all levels. And
Absolutely. I'm trying, whilst I'm sitting at home, I'm trying to find time to actually think and analyze and share ideas with fellow performers and people who are working in the industry to try and
yeah,
find ways of actually going forward and really
yeah,
supporting those who are coming into the industry and actually being very fair across the industry. We need to be coming up with a much more fair way of hiring, but from the perspective of a person who is an artist producing the product, and also I'm involved with casting. So I'm also sitting on the other side of the table.
yeah,
I feel that we've got a moral necessity at the moment to prioritize those who are on the very beginning of their careers, because if we don't do that, the circle of the industry works in a way that one needs 2 to 3 years in order to get into the industry.
yes,
But if we delay that, then they will mean that a very vast amount of newly graduates would just go do something else. They would
yeah.
choose another profession over this. And
Interesting idea. Yeah,
and
right.
in 5 to 10 years time, we
Mm.
won't have that very talented but still cheap
Yes, new cohort
workforce.
of singers. Yeah,
Yeah, It's very interesting, important for the vitality of the industry, and it's something that needs to be factored in the strategies for the companies going forward after the COVID time. I hope that those who are making those decisions really think about this.
Well, of course, you know, as you said, you are actually involved with developing young artists, and we'll talk about your opera studio actually a little bit later on, if we can. Something we haven't really talked about before, a little bit about your Armenian background. And I know that during this pandemic, there's been this terrible war going on. You're from Yerevan?
Yes, I am. Yes. Yeah. Pronunciation.
Thank you.
You sound fluent. Already. Between pronouncing the name of the capital and pronouncing my surname, you're good to go to Armenia.
I'm ready to go. Actually, let's do a tour to Armenia one day.
Okay, I came to the UK in 2010, 10 years ago, and I came on a mission to study here.
Yes.
I got fully funded by the Royal Conservatory of Scotland to come and do Masters of Performance, and then I went on doing the Masters of Opera as well. And after that, I was super lucky to get a place at the Young Artist Program, Yeti Parker Young Artist Program at the Royal Opera House. So I came down to London.
What a launch pad! Yeah,
I know. I mean, absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And so I've spent 2 years in London working at the Opera House, which is the pinnacle of anyone's dreams in the industry. It was really amazing. I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything else. It was great. And then after that, I've stayed in London because I fell in love with London. I was already in love with Britain and UK. Yeah. And then I fell in love with London. I'm Armenian, but obviously a part of it
was in the Soviet Union, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
And so was your conservatoire, was it Russian style or was it very or international?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it was very much of a Russian style conservatoire because the education system for a century was the same, and the influences are very big there. And then, you know, when I came here, it was a completely different world of thinking about the education and looking at it from a different angle. And obviously, you know, so many people talk about it, but positive reinforcement and positive education, so you always compliment your students. It was so wild for me.
Yes, right.
I've never actually got
a hard time there. Back home, they beat you up.
Yeah, it's very much like in a ballet, in a Russian ballet school. You know, you're never smiling, and you know that you don't deserve any good things in this life. I'm actually exaggerating it a bit, but you know, the cliches exist for a reason.
Yeah, quite. Yeah. And what's happening now? It's peaceful now, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, thanks God, there is a ceasefire agreement, and hopefully things will improve slightly. It's a very difficult situation. You can imagine it's a very small country, less than live in Armenia, and it's not a wealthy country. We don't have any produce. So, you know, it's making everything very difficult, especially from the beginning of the year. The COVID hit there very hard. And so the economy is on its knees already. And then this very intensive and disastrous war started with devastating results, honestly. Hopefully, you know, one only can hope that things will improve and do anything to help the situation. So I've been trying to also raise awareness here in the Britain. It was never on the headlines. Right. People really didn't know about it.
Very little about it. Yeah, very little.
Yeah. And in fact, next week we are organizing a fundraising concert in London. So hopefully there'll be some funds raised for the humanitarian cause, because there are more than 100,000 people being displaced.
And life in lockdown, you've just been incredibly busy anyway, really, haven't you?
Well, I feel like I've been just eating since March.
Yeah.
And I'm so scared.
You're looking good on it.
Well, thank you. That's the black turtleneck. But I'm just so scared to get into my concert attire. I don't think I will be getting into it anytime soon.
The dressmaker, maybe. I'm sure you won't need it.
It's been really interesting being at home. I started doing some gardening. we moved houses with my husband, so now we are from South London. We are in northwest of London.
Oh, right.
And we've got a beautiful garden, and you know, we have our first ever lawn, and a really nice place to sit. And I've planted so many flowers and plants. It was really, really fun. Send me some sunshine from Portugal, please.
I'm trying. I'll have a go afterwards. I'm interested to know how it went, the festival, the New Generation Festival, how it went when you had to transfer it to the Bobley Gardens, and basically you cancelled the New Generation Festival as it was going to be, and I was going to take a lovely group of people, all lined up and very excited for a series of exclusive events around the festival, with cocktail parties with the singers, and special tours of the Palazzo Corsini with the family, and all these exciting things that we'd planned. But then that had to be shelved. I couldn't do the tour then, obviously, and but you still managed, like phoenixes out of the ashes, you still managed to create something. You put on a show, nevertheless, and for the people of Florence.
It was nothing less but magical, really was. We were very sad to be cancelling the New Generation Festival in its initial and original form. But then the Regeneration Festival was so adequate for its time. The credit goes to our three wonderful founders and producers of the festival, Max, Frankie, and Roger, who are working tirelessly to bring such an amazing thing together. Yeah, I mean, we were really proud, and not only proud because we could actually pull off such a huge public event in the middle of a Corona year, but also the most important thing for all of us, actually, and the priority was that we kept more than 200 young professionals working in live performance in employment, and we gave them artistic opportunities. We gave them, you know, that's the most important thing that we could have achieved. But obviously, people came and they had such great time, and the shows were wonderful. We had original productions, and we were in Bobley Gardens, which is, you know, it's the legendary, iconic Florentine location site. And it was the Regeneration Festival was hosted with by the Uffizi Galleries, one of the most famous museums in the world. The festival decided to donate all the tickets for free to the city of Florence, to the people of Florence, who were hit very hard. For people, the only thing that they had to do is to go online and reserve their seats, and we had a record selling. Everything sold out. So within 8 hours overnight, from 12 a.m. until 8 a.m. and 8:01, there were no tickets left, and that was such a refreshing and absolutely mind-blowing feeling.
How many
so in Bobley Gardens, it was 500 people seated socially distanced.
And you employed all these fantastic young artists.
My God, they were stunning. We've done Cenerentola with fantastic young people who are just on their way to get the next bright thing, the next stars of our industry. And it was such a wonderful production, starting from, you know, the USP, the most special thing about our festival is that everything is done by people under 35 years old. And to actually see the product that comes from this young, energetic, full of life. But I actually think, and I'm not being, I'm not trying to brag, but I actually think that many opera companies would have actually been jealous to see the level that we were performing this year. Starting from the two of the resident orchestras. We actually, because of Corona, we've expanded our cast. So instead of one resident orchestra, we've invited the second orchestra just to be able to support more people. Instead of one cast, we've invited new casts. So we gave them more work.
Well, you created a performance opportunity in the year when nobody was performing. So, you know, congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And next year, 2021, we're keeping our fingers crossed that you might be able to run the festival as originally conceived.
Hopefully, yeah.
In Palazzo Corsini. Let's hope.
Let's hope, yeah. Soon enough, there will be an announcement.
Then I should be bringing my group for the DNS, the Divas Scholars tour.
That would be fantastic.
It'd be so fun.
And we can do all the special events around your,
fabulous,
yes, absolutely.
Exclusive private tours and talks and recitals in the music room and the dinner.
Absolutely, yeah, with a gala dinner, with private dinner, with the artists, with excursions in the palazzo. Oh my God! If only you see the inside of that palazzo.
I can't wait to see it.
It's legendary, you know. And the family of Corsinis, who are one of the most famous families in Italy and in Florence, they are our patrons and our greatest supporters, and they are.
They've been around since the Renaissance.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible to be actually doing this in their house where they live, and the walls are absorbed with history, with amazing stories that Prince Filippo, for example, or Princess Georgiana, who very sadly left us this summer.
Yeah.
They're all telling us about those stories, and to be able to rehearse whilst the Corsini family members are sitting there just watching our rehearsals, you know, it gives us so much fulfillment and so much.
Being part of their history, you become part of the Corsini legend.
We are so privileged. We really are. The garden itself is so beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful gardens in Florence. And it's a private garden, you know, so you don't really get to see it unless you are involved in something that's happening there. So it's a very unique opportunity to get into those gardens with a very special private treatment if you're part of the festival, you know. And, you know, the gala dinners would happen in the Limonaia, when the orangeries where the lemon trees are now.
The Mascarade, do you pronounce it Masquerade or Mascarade?
It's Mascarade, yeah.
And so are you actually doing that in Palazzo Corsini?
We have one of the historic ballroom and the room surrounding it as our headquarters of the festival and of the Mascarade Opera Studio. And the studio actually functions in there. We've got a big concert hall. We're performing in the ballroom.
Yes.
And the ballroom is overlooking at the garden. We put on recitals there with the artists of the festival and the artists of the Opera Studio. And Opera Studio is a very unique organization. It has a very fresh program that was written by Dr. Ralf Strehle, who is the director of the studio. And it very much incorporates the knowledge that we have from the performance psychology coming from the sports sector, because they are much more ahead than the musicians and the live performers actually in terms of exploring the limits of the mind while you're playing, or the athletes basically, to help them increase their productivity. So it's a very interesting program, and I had my input into the program as somebody who is also getting established and is in the beginning of the career. And I think it is very important for the artists who are studying in an opera studio, who are working and training with a mindset to establish themselves within the next couple of years, to have contact with very young professionals who have just gone through what they are going to face within 2 years. They've just passed it in the last 5 years, not more than that, because the industry is changing very fast, especially with the technology, especially with the amount of the travel that is involved, and also the taste is changing very much. It's a very important aspect. And we have put the emphasis on creating an environment where they would be able to find their artistic individuality, to work on there, to have the space to work on there, and not be out of the system that provides a lot of unnecessary competition for young musicians. Also get them opportunities to network and with people who are slightly ahead of them, such as myself and the singers from my generation. So we've only started in September. I mean, it was an absolutely dreadful year to start anything, but thankfully, because of the people that are involved, the team that is running the opera studio, we are so imaginative. Not me, them. They are so imaginative.
You are too. And you were managing to social distance and
absolutely.
Were they having to sing in masks?
No, not really, because we are very lucky to have a huge space in the palazzo. You can, with the windows are very big, so you can always open. There is no problem of actually coming in and being in small rooms. You know, like in music academies, usually you would be in a small room. So we've got very generous rooms. Social distancing is possible, so they can actually sing very far away. It was possible to make it work, and we're working. The studio provides 9 months professional training and support, and it's fully funded for all the artists who are joining us. And people in the industry like it so much, like people who are casting theaters, managers of the theaters.
Are they coming to see the recitals, casting directors and people?
Yeah, well, this was the plan before COVID hit us. But yes, they are in very intensive touch with us, and we are providing them. At the moment, the Mascarade Opera Studio is a feeder program to a bigger theater, to bigger theaters in the world, and to the industry. So people who come to us will be postgraduates who finish their academies, their masters. They would come to take a year off to be in Italy to learn the language, learn the stylistics, and have time fully funded to work on their technique and fund their individuality and their artistry. And it's a very unique situation. I cannot emphasize this enough. Not everyone has the luxury of having the support for a year, and the coaching, the musical support, obviously, which is done on the highest possible level. The head of music, Lilin, is a very famous pianist and an accompaniment professional accompanist, and our faculty is mostly guest faculty. So we have chosen very carefully the people that we know would be useful to these people, to the artists that are in the studio. By the way, we've opened the application, so anyone interested, please refer them to us. They can apply and come and audition for us in Florence.
At the end of the audition process, how many students will you have?
We've got 10 places per each year. So 8 places for singers and 2 places for repetitors, conductors.
And how many auditions do you anticipate having to?
At the moment, we're thinking about it. So we will have the first round will be screening. And then the second round, hopefully, if we need to have it live, we're thinking, depending on applicants, we might do it in Florence or in London or maybe in other cities. We'll see how many people are coming where from, and then we will decide.
And these are all people who have just finished their conservatory training. And what's the average age?
I would say it's between 20 to 26.
Yes.
Very exciting. Can't wait to have you there.
You're doing such great work. Well, and another thing I should mention is that you did a Divas Scholars event.
Yes.
You were launching the recording that you'd just done of with Sergei and Yuri.
Sergei Rybin and Yuri Yurchuk. Yes, we have. That was 3 years ago, and we were launching the CD called
Romances
by Rimsky-Korsakov.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a collection of songs for soprano and a baritone by Rimsky-Korsakov, who is one of the most amazing composers and very underrated,
Yes.
unfairly underrated at the moment and undersung.
Yes.
And it's a gem of a CD. If anyone has listened, I'm sure they would agree with me, because each song is more beautiful than the other. Yes, and it was such a pleasure to be part of the Divas Scholars. Thank you so much for having us. We had so much fun. I personally love having the audience in an intimate
Yes,
setting.
people love meeting you. I mean, you know,
I love meeting people.
Yes, and
Everyone,
that's a great
everyone.
thing actually. That people love it. The Divas and Scholars thing really does work well, because, you know, people really enjoy meeting the artists.
It's such a brilliant
You don't necessarily
setting.
have the opportunity, you know, when you're just watching people at the opera house.
No, absolutely, it's a brilliant format, and congratulations coming up for this format, because I know that
happening in last one was in February, I guess.
Oh yeah,
2020.
yes.
So let's hope next year. And also, I want to have some wonderful tours, and perhaps one day we do one to Yerevan. I'd like to go
that
to
would be
some beautiful
amazing.
opera houses around the world. What kind of opera house is it?
Well, it's a beautiful building from the beginning of the century.
So it's sort of Belle Epoque.
Not really. No, it's very Soviet.
Is it? Oh, but
yeah, it is very Soviet, but it's very interesting because the city itself is a very interesting city. It's a collage of everything that Armenians went through. It's an homage of the Armenian soul.
Is opera an important part of life there?
Yes, absolutely. It's very busy. You would see the classics like Traviata, Il Trovatore, Carmen, Don Giovanni. It won't go into more adventurous repertoire, but you would have your classics, and you would also have Armenian operas.
Yes,
they're very lyrical. And actually, fun fact: most famous Armenian opera is called Anush.
Oh, and have you played that role? Is it a soprano role?
It is a soprano role, yes.
Yes.
It's pretty much the Armenian Tosca.
Yes.
But not really.
How would you describe your voice, your particular kind of soprano? And has it changed at all over this year of not working so much?
I wouldn't know, because I haven't heard it for so long.
No. But presumably you're singing. Are you singing a little bit, you know, at home and?
Actually, no.
On repertoire?
I'm being very, very bad with it. I'm not singing at home, because we have just, as I mentioned, we've just moved.
Yes.
Yeah, in the spring we've moved,
yes.
And since then I don't have a piano here. No. Yes, I have to sort that out.
Yeah.
But also, you know, knowing that everything was cancelled, I did not really have the heart to do it. One knows that we're, you know, the fingers are the musical athletes, and it's very important to keep the muscles moving. But when you know that for a year you've got absolutely nothing to do, it's a very difficult mental situation.
Very hard to be motivated. Yeah. And also with all the personal stresses.
Oh, absolutely. All of that on top of it.
Wasn't in it, probably.
Exactly. But one thing that professionally I got very frustrated in the beginning of the COVID is that because this year, 2020, was going to be a very important year for me. I was, in the beginning of the year, I've made my debut as a Duchesse Hélène in Les Vêpres Siciliennes, the Sicilian Vespers by Verdi, which is a very new repertoire for me, and I feel very comfortable in it. And this was going to be transferring me from one repertoire to another and make me seem slightly more serious in the eyes of the industry. But I was going to be thinking more dramatic and more technically demanding repertoire. That I was meant to be going to do my debut as Tatiana in Eugene Onegin Tchaikovsky's opera at the Opera Holland Park, and to open the festival with it. It was a great deal for me to be doing such a big role in London, in the heart of London, and that got cancelled. I was really hoping that the momentum of this year would really help me get myself to another level in my career, and none of that happened. And then basically if my next contract goes ahead in Norway, that means that I would not have worked for exact 12 months. And as a young singer doing that, first of all, not being able to practice your profession is very frustrating.
Yes.
Secondly, obviously, not being able to earn anything and not having any alternative to it is very much, it's hard. It's mentally very hard to deal with that fact. After a while, I will go back to one of my favorite recordings, say the 4 last songs with Gundula Janovic and von Karajan. And it will touch me so deeply that I would start crying. The reaction that I have to that, the lush music, the harmonies, the piece itself. And then I thought, okay, well, this is never going to be out of our lives. And then again, next week you think, oh my God, everything is so bad. And, you know, the medics, the doctors are actually saving lives. Yes. And what is it that you're doing? How do you contribute to the society? But then again, after reflection, you understand that actually music is doing the same thing as the doctors are doing. It's just a different angle, different approach to the same thing.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed for a happier.
There is certain positivity for sure. We know that the vaccine is here. We know that the government, at least here in the UK, the government has given
real
the green light.
hope. Yeah.
There's great hope.
Yeah.
There was a very special program performance that we have presented in Florence. It was original program for the New Generation Festival, and called The Three Divas. I was one of the divas. Yes.
And what were you singing?
And so I was singing very eclectic numbers. We started, the first number was the trio between myself, Veronica Swift, who's one of the most accomplished singers I've ever heard. She's only 25 and she's the freshest sound in New York jazz scenery. And Chanel Jones, who is this incredible creature. She is a blues jazz singer, vocalist, who I personally had the privilege to call a friend for many years now, and we've worked on a couple of different projects together. The concert started from Purcell's music for a while, and then we all went on doing sort of solo stuff. And at some point during the performance, we would come together and do a duo, and then go back to solo stuff, and then come back and do a trio and finish. One of the numbers that we've presented was Dvořák's Rusalka's aria. So the Song to the Moon, the beautiful aria that is so famous. And we have presented it reimagined for a jazz improvisation piano, a soprano, and a jazz trumpet.
Oh, I'd love to hear that. Sounds great.
It was utterly beautiful, and I had such great fun because I'm such a great lover of jazz myself. And
did you sing it in Czech?
Yes, I sang it in original, as I would sing, but obviously everything else around me was very different.
Do you think you'll do the Three Divas and do some jazz next year if the festival is able to go ahead?
Well, God only knows. Hopefully, that's the plan. At least we'll see what's happening. The Three Divas, I think, should have a much more longer journey, because it's such a wonderful program. I think it has to go to various places, to bigger auditoriums. Yes, but hopefully my next job will be sing this wonderful role of Vidalia in Bergen National Opera in Norway, which the performance will be in March 2021, and then crossing fingers that the rest of the contracts really come through. I don't know how the industry is going to react, but one thing is for sure: the audiences who love the classical music and opera, they are waiting for it. They need it in their life, and it's very much in demand. So I'm absolutely positive that once we are allowed and given the green light to open up, things will be very fast going back to what we call normal. And hopefully we will have so many more divas and scholars.
Oh, let's hope.
Oh, I love that.
Wait to get going again. I can't get, and you'll come as my guest, I hope.
Absolutely. I'll be there just to
Come to
cheer for
dinner.
everyone.
Yeah, great. Looking forward to it. Okay, well, lots of love to you, and thank you so much. Yeah, it's been great chatting.
Absolutely the same. Sending you tons of love, a big hug to you. You look great. You're shining.
Well, you look lovely in your home setting.
I know. Before we go, I want to say Merry Christmas and a truly Happy New Year. Truly a happy and a healthy.
A happy, healthy, successful, everything happening again. Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's hope for the best. Lots of love.
Lots of love, my dear. Thank you so much for such a great chat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's been so nice talking to you.
Take care.